All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Old Moon Podcast, episode 20. We're getting kind of close
Whoa.
getting kind of close to 6 months on this right now.
Yeah.
I am
crazy.
I know. I am Blue Squadron, of course, your host, joined again with, we'll go with Tiltus first this time.
Hello, I am Tiltus TV. I am the flex lead for Solace/Epidemic. I know like 3 days a week, and right now I'm suffering from work overload, so I have been streaming very minimal amount currently because summer is busy time. It's been rough.
Yeah, they told me as a first-year teacher, they were like, "Summer, it's not any better," and I was like, "How is that true? You don't have to work during the summer," and now I get it. Now I understand. It's actually harder. Please just let the school year start again. And Jay Kuhn.
Hi, I'm Jay Kuhn. I'm an Awakening Wisdom main with 760 gear score, and I do a lot of endgame PvE content, such as Olins, the dungeons, and I recently hit a Tet Deboreka earring, so maybe we'll tap for pen soon. And welcome to the Old Moon Podcast, episode 20.
You got a Tet Debo earring already?
I did.
How?
How
have you gotten enough earrings? All right, just thick feed, Blue.
Podcast over again.
Yeah,
I gotta leave. I'll see you guys later.
Oh gosh. All right. So, how did you get all the earrings, Jay? I'm curious. Did you
I've just been grinding nonstop. That's all I've been doing.
Yeah, you can get them at Olin's now. That's why. Never mind. I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
Literally not even pen yet.
Oh yeah,
What an
Decades
idiot.
Olins.
Yeah. Not even pen yet. Idiot.
Actually, did you know Blonde Bear got the very first pen Deboreka earring?
Ooh,
You are
nice.
kidding me right now.
He three-tapped it, yeah.
Oh my god.
He three-tapped it.
Dude.
He got the first one NA.
He one-tapped his neck, one-tapped his belt, and three-tapped his earring. And this man actually has the gall to complain to me that he doesn't have his merchant ring piece and he doesn't have the LVAD. I hope you never get it. Not really. But, like, honestly, let him suffer a little longer. Another 1,000 hours, Jay. Put it on him. Goodness gracious. All right. Now, the talk of the town this week, as a whole in the community, has created a lot of stir, is this developer note that Jay has so kindly written for us. We the peepos. All right, so there's a lot to unpack here. The first thing we're gonna go with is let's talk about the karma changes first. Let's talk karma changes. A lot of people think that so karma is now becoming family wide. If you're red on one character, you are now red on every single character. I'm not really sure how to feel about this. I feel like it's objectively a good thing, considering some of the other changes in the note. How do you guys feel about this? Tiltus, I'm curious how you feel, because I feel like you lean the other way on this, where I lean very strictly one way. You're like all the way on the other side of the teeter.
So I've already figured out the way that I'm going to abuse the Jesus out of the system.
Oh my god, dude. It's can we exploit it and how? You heard him, Jay.
I already figured it out.
Dude.
I already figured it out. It's family wide. So the trick is just put a Tuvala, season character somewhere where you can get a lot of karma back really fast. Load them with karma scrolls, and every time you go negative, you just hop to the alt. You spend 10 minutes grinding, you get your karma back, and then you hop back and you continue doing what you were doing where you went negative. So
why are you so determined to just shit on new players?
Why
do you need to have
this? It is so rare. It is so rare.
You get the most amount of karma back at Pilaku jail, right?
Unironically, at Pilaku jail. Yeah, again, Pilaku jail in the middle of nowhere, Valencia.
Holly's Forest is good, but it's way too populated. But I don't know. I feel like it was a thought that somebody had, and they were like, this is a good change. And there's part of me that thinks it's like an okay change, but there's so many other things that go wrong with this that I'm just like, it feels a little heavy-handed to me. And also, like I said, I feel like it's literally super exploitable, where I can just like, oh, I'm negative, let me hop to my season character, grind these couple of packs real quick. Okay, now I have positive karma again. Time to go fight some more.
You say easily exploitable, but I'll be honest with you, swapping, even if you have a character in position to get the karma back, it's still going to take negative 1 million to positive is still at least going to take you like an hour.
You never go negative 1 million. You just go negative. Once you realize you're negative, you just immediately hop, change, grind some karma back, hop back. It'll take like a couple minutes to get enough karma to get 1 kill.
No, I don't think so. I think you're underselling how long it actually takes to get karma back. Like
there's some really good spots, and if you use loyalty karma scrolls, it doesn't take long at all.
Are you a red player though, Tiltus?
I have been quite a few times before.
Well, I mean, like, have you ever like lived the red player lifestyle? Like, so, but do you do it like? Do you do it? Have you done it recently?
Not recently, no.
Okay, so this doesn't really affect you.
It's so punishing to be a red player now that it's not. What are you want to lose your 4-bill crystal when you inevitably die to somebody that horse charges you?
Well, all right. I'm curious. What's your take before I go in on Tiltus's there? Jay, what's your take on the karma change? You like
the
good
karma
bad?
system?
Yeah.
So I've never really gone red before, other than to visit Muquin for knowledge, and so I don't really have much to add to the table, to be honest. I mean, I think it's going to help prevent more red players wanting to be red. I mean, at the same time, it's just I do feel like the devs are pushing towards more less how do you word it? I don't know.
More severe
bullying
punishments for PvP, less bullying, less of that stuff. Well, I mean, So let's remind everybody what the red karma penalties are. So if you're red on karma, firstly, your crystals are guaranteed to break if you have them. Number one. Number two, if you don't have crystals, your gear physically downgrades. Right?
From PvE death, right?
Right. And number three, and this is the biggest one that I think people forget all the time, and the reason that Tiltus's way is just not going to work, is that it untags your character, or it completely destroys your tag character's gear if you're red on your tag. And if you're red on all of your characters, you're red on your tag, which means you've obliterated essentially 3 to 4 billion silver. If you are a veteran player and you have a tagged character. So, like, I don't think it's very exploitable at all. I think that, like, unless you don't want to have a tag, and in which case Tiltus's way will work.
The gear only pops off if you die on your tag, though, right?
No, it expires.
So even if you have it on your character and you go red,
yeah, it expires. I've tested it. Unless they have changed it, if your tagged character goes red, the gear immediately expires on the tagged character. It doesn't necessarily untag you. But you just your gear score goes to 0.
Why is it even in the game? Just remove open world PvP.
Good, yes, good. I love this.
Does it like completely destroy it, or I thought it disabled it? No,
it went red for me.
It expires, so
it went red for me.
Yeah,
unless they have modified it, and keep in mind, I did this like a year or two ago when they put this into the game, so they may have changed it since then. I'll be honest, I'm scared to try it again. I haven't tried it in like a year and a half because I don't want to lose all my stuff. So like, but like I think that's the biggest thing. Like people are worried about the crystals and stuff. I think the biggest thing that people are actually gonna like learn the hard way on is losing their tag. And so if you go back billions.
If you go back positive, is it re-enabled or no?
I don't believe so. I think you have to retag the whole character.
Just remove open world PvP. Why can't I even
alt-C? All right. So here we go. All right. So here's the thing. So I actually like that mainly because of the other changes they've given. I like the fact that you can't just move on to a spot and bully people. Now, if it was just this change by itself, if it was just this change by itself, I would not have liked these changes. Right? I felt like the karma change was actually as a result of two of the other things that they added to the game. And the biggest one is the deck changes. So we'll revisit the karma system as we kind of hit the deck changes here. But like the declaration of war changes are now, there are no such thing now as one-sided guild wars. In order to actually have a GVG now, both guilds must consent to the declaration of war ahead of time. So one guild cannot just stay decked long-term or even short-term on another guild. This kind of removes hunting guilds. This removes hunting war targets and things like this that, aren't decked on your guild, but you're decked on them. things like that. And Tiltus, I think that you have the opposite opinion as me. Let's get Jay's opinion first. Jay, how do you feel about this?
So I actually asked my friend Hugh from the Korean servers about his opinion on the matter, and he said that a lot of the Korean player base actually agree with the changes, and that the people who don't like the changes, he said, quote unquote, it was like an old way of thinking, like their old players' old way of thinking, and it's time for new changes to make the game better, for the game to grow. As someone like me who avoids PvP, I've always felt like conflicts in terms of PvP between guilds and players, for the most part, where like they kind of should be resolved on their own without necessarily needing a developer to step in and make this change. Not to say that I condone or, encourage bullying of innocent, but I don't know if it was necessarily needed is my take on it. And so I think it just made a lot of sense to me, like as someone who's I played a witch for 5 years, and I've had to constantly just concede my grind spot and move on. But it always just made sense that if a player decides to compete for a grind spot, and that the other player cannot defend, that the player who could not defend would leave. I mostly agree with you about the changes to help grow the game, and I not to say that I disagree with the changes. I just don't know if this was the best way to go about it. I guess we'll just have to see.
Yeah, no, I think Tiltus, I know that you stand very vehemently on the other side of the fence. So Tiltus, how do you feel about the deck changes?
So I watched the clip that Jay linked us like the day that he posted it, and I can agree to at least see the other side of why they wanted to put these changes through. To me personally, it felt really ham-fisted. Like, we're applying these changes now. There is no like test period. There is no like, let's modify it. It's just like, boom, here it is, deal with it. And that makes me sad.
God bless
because
him.
there are some times like where like guildies are like you already can't deck on guilds that don't have decks out or that don't own nodes. Those players are already able to grief, and there are plenty, like we have people grinding all the time. So like our decks are constantly switching over because somebody will get griefed, somebody will come through a rotation 4, 5, 6 times, and they'll wipe out half your packs, and you flag on them and you kill them. Well, you can only do that so many times before you risk going negative. So then you can't deck. You already can't deck the guilds that people like to do that with anyways. So it felt really ham-fisted. We were just like, we're changing the deck system because of like brand new players getting like really hard bullied by very experienced players. I totally can see that. I would have liked to have struck a little bit more balance in the way that it works. Maybe, I don't know, just something like if you own a node, you can always be decked on, or something. Like, don't change it for guilds that own nodes, maybe, and then change it for all the other ones or something. I don't know. But I'm not a super huge fan of it because it happens a lot, like where players will come in and they'll just grief your grind. I'm like 30 minutes into the grind, I've got a player just coming through my rotation, taking half my packs, and it's like, okay, now I can't deck them because they have to deck me back before I can even fight them. So I'm forced to go negative or just leave. That player is won now, and I'm forced out of my spot just because I want to get a effective grind.
All right, well, all right. So again, this change comes in so I'm actually very strongly on the side of I really like the guild deck system. I strongly agree with Jay's friend, and I think that one-sided guild decks are a thing of the past. I think that open world PvP and BDO in general is kind of an archaic system. When the game came out, the game was very different. The player base wanted to PvP. Everyone wanted, like, it was cool to be able to just flag. Like, at any moment, you could have PvP, right? Like, that was fun because the gear scores were, like, closer. Like you spawned in, like you were able to keep up with each other. Yeah, if you missed a few days, you were a little bit behind, but it didn't feel helpless. Nowadays, we're in a completely different situation, and with the influx of, like, we've had a lot of PvPers leave the game over the years, but like the vast majority of all of our new players are PvE Andes. The people that are playing the game now love it because the brand new PvE content is incredible. Yes, they love the combat, but and they might try PvP eventually. But I think that what the developers are trying to do, and the reason this change came right now, is because they see a massive amount of players playing their game. All these new players are all PvE players, and if they get forced into PvP too many times, it will force them to quit the game. Nothing makes you want to rage quit more, right, than feeling like you're in a helpless situation like that. Now, there are ways that this can be exploited, and this is the reason that we have these two other changes, one of which we haven't talked about yet. We talked about the karma system. Because the developers are trying to get rid of bullying. They're trying to get rid of digital or reforged or Cho Nation decking on some rando guild and just keeping it up and just running them into the ground, right? Because they griefed their grind spot once, so now we're going to hunt their players, which, to be honest with you, doesn't happen a crazy amount anymore. At least it doesn't happen for, like, I don't see Cho and Digi doing that too much. They like to fight each other, and that's okay. But there are guilds on this server, who shall remain nameless, who all they do all day is they just run around hunting people. That's what they do, right? And the developers I think are trying to remove that as a whole from the game. And in doing so, they're trying to remove some toxicity from the game, which I like. The alternative is to just start permanently banning people that are being too toxic in our community, which I wouldn't be against that either, but this is the approach they took. All right, we're going to try to reduce the avenues with which those players can grief, right? Or troll people. So, like, these two guilds can't deck each other unless it's mutual now. Okay, well, most of the PvP guilds, I'll be honest with you, will accept decks from each other. I'm sure that most of the PvP guilds don't mind fighting each other. That's not what we're worried about, right? Cho and Digi are going to accept the decks on each other. If Meow wants to, or if a Dandelion wants to deck Reforged, no problem, we accept that. Ghost wants to deck Reforged, whatever, we accept those decks, no big deal. If two PvP guilds, I don't think that's the issue. It's these PvE, PvX guilds that we're concerned about, and the biggest argument against this system is griefing, right? The biggest argument is, oh my gosh, someone's going to run into my grind spot, and I'm going to be helpless. So what the developers did as a response is they said, okay, well, we're going to give you, what is this, Marnie's Realm? It's called Marnie's Realm, yeah? Where you get Marnie's to just Realm, grind in an instance for a full hour unimpeded. Now you can do it every other hour, and they're essentially introducing Marnie's Realm for every single spot in the game. Well, every single relevant spot in the game that doesn't already need it, right? Which, uh-oh, my alerts are going off. But, like, so, like, I think that change right there basically just wipes out, on the whole, most griefing. Because most of the time when griefers walk onto your rotation, it's somebody that doesn't know any better or just doesn't care. Or maybe he's already swapped 2 or 3 times and he's like, look, and I'm just going to grind. And then it happens to be you that gets the short end of the stick or whatever. And your response is typically to flag or declare war on them. However, that will happen way, way less, as most of those people are just going to go to Marnie's Realm. Right? Most of those people are just going to go to Marnie's Realm every other hour. It effectively over doubles the amount of grind spots on the server as a whole. And they're increasing the rate at which monsters spawn so that rotations can become smaller, so that there are effectively more rotations for everyone. Right? They're adding mobs to grind zones and things like this. So they obviously understand the argument that the developers, they don't play their game, they don't understand. They obviously understand, okay, the biggest problem with this is that people can just walk in and grief. So how do we fix that? We give them Marnie's Realm all the time, right? So, like, I think that the Marnie's Realm changes really does help out with the griefing thing. You should either be able to swap servers between your home servers and a 5-minute, because they also introduced with this dev note, they said the server swap cooldown is going to be 5 minutes. And you have an instant swap on all 3 of your home servers. So you can swap to all 3 of your home servers. Then you have a 5-minute server swap to go to any server other than that. And if you still can't find something, then Marnie's Realm was probably up. You're probably not going to have to deal with griefers. It's always going to be a problem in BDO. That will always be an issue. But I think that they've really addressed it with the Marnie's Realm changes. That being said, I really do think it's important to take away this like bullying. I mean, Tiltus, you were here for it. I mean, God, all of these guilds, especially on the T1 scene back in the day and in the T2 scene, their job, like the way that they would recruit was they would just declare war on another guild and they would just run that fucking guild into the ground. Hunting their players. Yeah, you either join us or we're going to kill your guild. Join us or we're going to kill your guild. And that was just how it was. It was their way or the highway.
That's a really, really old way of doing it. I haven't seen a join or die message in God knows how long.
Well, it's not necessarily so brazen as join or die, but they just deck you and hunt you, right? Every up-and-coming guild has this issue. Reforged had this issue. with Ghost. Ghost said the same thing to us, tried to kill us before we got rolling, right? Tried to take all of our members. You know, like it's a nightmare. Corrupt did the same thing. Every guild that's come up has had this issue. Even Show Nation, when it was on the come up, had to go through had to hurdle over like 3, 4, 5, 6 different guild beefs before they finally did get on top. And now they get to do it to everybody else. I mean, this is a super old way of thinking. And this needs to go. If we want to retain all of these PvE players that we just got, if we want to keep our servers crowded, if we want to keep people playing the game, this is a necessary change. It's not like open world PvP was doing super great, right? It's not like people are having a crazy amount of fun. Oh my gosh, number go up at a GVG good. What I would love them to do is to just remove open world PvP entirely and give us a different system that is like open world PvP for the open world PvPers that gives them an objective to play for. Let the open world PvPers that want to fight war targets all day and just run around on Arsha, give them a reward for doing something like that. But like give them an objective and have them fight other players that want to do that. Like don't have them fighting players that can't defend themselves, because that's just bullying and it's not fun. It doesn't allow anyone else to play the game.
Like that one PvP system that they're adding, War of Noses.
War of Roses. War of Roses. Yes, War of Noses.
War of Noses.
So I agree that they have added Marnie's Realm, and that's a good way to deal with making it so that there's less people available to grief. My biggest complaint with that is that I think it's going to make the world feel less populated when you're running around.
It is. Yeah, absolutely
and right. That's kind of a little bit of a bummer, because sure, like a lot of PvP experiences aren't necessarily great for both parties, but there are some that are like really good, where it's like you fight for a while and you're like, all right, I'm out. I gotta go do something now. It's gonna make it feel small. I'm not arguing that it. Right. Like I said, I see the reason that they're doing it, but I feel like it's just gonna make the world feel like a way less populated when you're running around, because you're gonna be running through spots and it's just like, oh, there's nobody here.
All right.
And that's kind of a little bit of a bummer.
Well, honestly, I like it when I get to a grind spot. That's the one part of the game, the one area of the game I really don't want the world to feel crowded for, is when I'm grinding. Everything else can feel crowded, right? Like when I'm autopathing in towns, seeing people running around, RPing, whatever. I love seeing all these people. But when I get to my grind spot, I'm like, oh my God, there's somebody here, bro. Like, oh, then you have to swap servers. You see somebody again. Oh, it's frustrating. I would like that's the one aspect of the game that I think, honestly, we can all agree on. We don't like seeing people at those spots unless you're on Arsha. Now, before we get into the Arsha discussion, I want to say that, I think they're trying to reduce all of this is in an attempt. Essentially, what the dev note was is they're trying to reduce the bullying in the game of all the brand new players by the veteran players, which I think is a good thing. But I mean, we got this red player change because the developers knew. They knew. They were like, all right, so if we remove the one-sided guild decks, the first thing that those players do, all right, fine, I'll just flag on them. Screw it, I don't care. So that's why we got the red karma change to go family-wide, so that, again, it was like a twofold change. You can't have one without the other. Otherwise, people will exploit it. But I actually don't think that true red players, really are not affected, I don't think, by the family karma chain.
No, they're not, because they run around with cheap ass crystals anyways that are
and they don't have tags,
break.
and they're like, this is just what they're gonna bully people. That's just what they do, right? But
they're not gonna find people though.
Yeah, I actually don't think that the developers were actually targeting red players, like the true red players, like Toes. Nice Toes, bro, or Raminia specifically. They're not going after those players. They're going after the players that go red temporarily just to bully one person and then try to get all their karma back, or they swap to an ult to get around it. Right. So I strictly like the changes overall. The only changes that people have suggested various addendums to it, like, hey, can we do this so that we don't feel like PvP in the game is regressing? Tiltus, since you're so against the changes, do you think that what would you do? And we're gonna get these changes. What would you rather add to this?
I think the correct play is to probably just open up 6 Arsha servers and just funnel all the PvPers there. If you want to grind and PvP at the same time, here's 6 channels for you to choose from. No Marnie's Realm on those servers. Just go fight. You want to grind and occasionally have somebody come in your spot? There you go. You want to fight for a spot? There you go. You want to have your 50% drop rate? There you go.
Okay. My counter to that is there aren't enough PvPers to actually blanket 6 Arsha servers. There are 2 types of people that grind on Arsha. There are people that are looking for the bag and people that are looking for the PvP. Right? The people that want the money, the 50% drop rate, and the people that want the PvP. If you have too many Arsha servers and not enough players to populate them, people are just going to see them as PvE servers, and they're going to, like, it's a whole nother problem with the Rise. And then the PvPers don't get any PvP because it's too spread out. A lot like our old Node War system. There's just too many nodes and not enough guilds, right? I think the solution is not to add more Arsha servers, which is what most people want to point to. No, I think we don't have enough PvPers for that. What I think you do is, when someone's grinding on Arsha, give them 300% drop rate. You think I'm kidding? Just max their drop rate out, and then, like, let them just pump up to like 500 if they want to. I don't care. Then all the PvPers will funnel into Arsha, and it will be the lawless hellscape that they all wanted it to be in the first place. Right? Like, then it's populated enough, and there's enough reward, right? And, like, I think that the people that are running around that want this open world PvP, that are super concerned about these changes, I think they just like strictly profit from this. Then Arsha feels more populated. Nobody's griefing on main servers. Guilds don't feel like they're hunted into the ground. I don't know. How do you feel about that as an alternative?
I mean, that's fine. Yeah, anything to funnel the PvPers to actually go somewhere and look for their PvP is fine. If that means increasing the drop rate of Arsha, fine. If that means adding additional Arsha servers, whatever. I don't really care. As long as they're like, my biggest thing is, like, I hate it when they remove systems from the game and then they don't replace it with something equal to it.
Right. That's a fair argument. Like, the fact that we seem to have been moving away from PvP a little bit. Jay, you haven't spoken too much on this. What do you think?
I've just been enjoying listening to you guys.
Well, I mean, you knew that it was basically going to be Tilted Eye trying to bounce ideas off each other. So, Jay, of what you just heard, what do you feel? Like, do you think that they should just changes come as is, no problems? Do you think that they should add more Arsha channels? Do you think they should up the drop rate on Arsha servers? Do you think that any of that would help?
So for me, as somebody who just focuses on a PvE, I've always been in this situation where, whenever PvP happens, I just feel discouraged to play the game. Okay, so that's just like when someone rolls up on my grind
it's a
spot,
good perspective to have. It's the PvE perspective. Yeah. This is good. No, go ahead.
So whenever I'm like doing Olins, my party member's like, "Oh, you want me to check Arsha? You want me to check Arsha?" And I'm like, "No."
I love how he like whispered it like it's a secret. I don't tell anybody that we're saying.
Yeah, you might get extra Debreckers or whatever. But I just don't ever want to be put, as someone who does a lot of PvE. I've been in situations before where it just ruins my mood to grind. Like, just even if it wasn't anything like malicious or anything from the other party, like no griefing involved, they just wanted to duel for spot. It just ruins my mood, and that's just like maybe a me issue. I don't know if any other PvE player feels this way, where somebody just rolls up and asks you for duel for spot, and then you just feel as someone who's not very good at PvP, feels like I just give them. To be honest, if somebody rolls up to me, I just give them my spot. But
so interesting,
because this Marnie realm change is happening, that might not be the case in where I can just grind in peace. And I know there's been a lot of arguments being like, oh, this is gonna feel like more like a single player MMO. I mean, I feel like it's already been that direction anyways. It's just if you want to do it on your own way, you could do it your own way. If you want to do some group content, you can do some group content. For me, I mean, I grind Olins literally every day. I've been grinding Olins for the last 3 years, and I've always been grouping up. And everybody always keeps asking me, like, how do you find these groups? How do you find these groups? It's because I'm reaching out to people and asking them to. That's like the biggest issue with these people who don't know how to look for people, is that they don't reach out. Right? They're more often than not, they're waiting for the other people to reach out to them, and so that's also what the other people are feeling. And so if you reach out to other people, you can actually make this game into a sociable.
Get out of here.
Social.
Get out of here right now.
Social, party game, social content or whatever like that. You just need to reach out and ask people. And so I think, if anything, if people do want this game to be more, party oriented, just have the developers, create more party oriented grind spots, and then maybe people will be more cooperative. Because a lot of the times when we are what's the word for it? There's just so much incentive to just grind by yourself. And so what if we put that incentive to grind with other people? And so maybe that way we could make more.
I mean, that's the thing is like Epidemic we have Gyphon groups rolling all day, every day, like 2, 3, sometimes 4 groups rolling on different servers, because it is way more fun to grind with people. And as long as we're reaching out and getting the spots put together, then, they just stay rolling. So, I mean, like, I could probably go, like, open the game right now, click in, and get into a Gyphon group within the next, like, 15 minutes and be able to grind. So, I totally agree with that statement of, like, it's not hard to make the game social.
Yeah, I mean, oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I don't know. It's weird. I like seeing people, like, even if I'm not grinding a spot, like if I run through a spot going somewhere and I'm like, oh, look, there's like people here, or like, stuff like that. It's kind of nice. Just from a, like, the game is alive, there's things moving kind of standpoint, not necessarily from I'm trying to grind this spot. Just like hey, I'm running through, I don't know. Everything's Elvia now too for most of the spots, but like if I'm running through like Com Sylvia, or I'm like running through trees or something to go do Randaros, and there's like a party there, it's like, oh look, there's people here. It kind of makes the world feel like it's moving. But Elvia's already taken away some of that, and I feel like Marnie's Realm is just going to be like, boom, empty now. Which is, it's bittersweet. I get why it's there, but I also like just the world feeling like it's alive and moving.
Yeah, again, I don't think you're gonna lose that. Like you can still see those people that are on Elvia on a normal server. You can see the white dot moving around. So you know that they're there. And I think that again, grinding is like the one aspect of the game where you really don't want that world to be alive. You really don't want people on your grind spot.
I'm not saying for grinding a spot, Blue. I'm saying just like running around the world doing stuff.
Well, you're still gonna see those people. Like, you're still going to see all the people. Like, it's not like you run around looking for people in orcs rotations and then just keep running with that sense of satisfaction that someone's there. Like, no. Your only reason you're there to check an orcs.
Nice.
Like, oh, that's awesome. Hey, man, high five. Like, no, fuck that. DFS while you're teabagging. I'm like, no.
Leech.
Exactly. That's probably the real reason that you're there. Honest to God. I think the argument that it makes it more of a solo player MMO is irrelevant, because again, when you go to a solo grind spot, you're looking to play the game solo. Like you're not looking to play the game with other people. And if you are, and I think Jay laid it out perfectly, if you are looking to play the game with other people, you go to the group grind spots. Like that's where you will go. If you want to interact with other people, you go to the group grind spots. Right? But when you want to grind alone by yourself, you don't want to be interrupted. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've just been like, I think it's safe to pop my J scroll. And then I pop it, and then somebody walks onto the rotation. Blue, oh my God. And then they just start kicking the shit out of me, bro. It's miserable. Like, you have to, like, God, you laughing, but it's not wrong, man. Like, I want to be able to use my scrolls and stuff without necessarily knowing that I'm going to be interrupted. And again, it makes PvE a little bit more fun, because now I can actually try to be competitive. Let's say you're like making a video for like, I don't know, Wusa PvE at Ash Forest. Jay Kuhn's like 40 minutes into his hour, sweating. He's got the world record. He's going for it. Dashy comes in and just ruins his day, and now he has to start all the way over again. Yeah, there is no DFS with Dashy. There's no DFS. He's coming for that booty. But like, do you see what I mean? Like, I feel like the Marnie's Realm definitely does help with that stuff. The fact that, like, and those players are still playing the game. You'll still see them in town. You'll still see them running around. In fact, you will see them more in PvP because they got to grind more on their own. And I think that we'll see longer, like, obviously, a lot of the players that we see currently playing the game, like, you know, people quit BDO and then they come back. And people, like, they quit and they come back. They quit and they come back.
They always come back.
Right. They always just reel it back in. I was in Marlin's stream today trying to just reel him back in. Reeling him back in. But, like, I think this helps the game retain more players when they don't feel like they're bullied. There's some players in chat that that are saying that, like, as a new player, if they start getting bullied in PvP, they just turn off the game and start playing something else, and that's gonna be the response. Like, it is either that or they start just dropping bad words. You know what I mean? There's like two types. You know what I mean? There's like two types of people. There's the people, yeah. There's like the people that are just like, screw this, I'm just gonna go touch some grass or play another game. And then there's the people that are like, and then they just go in. They're like the keyboard warriors, bro.
The keyboard warriors, no.
They just start going in, and again, it just breeds toxicity within the game. And I think this might be an alternative that the devs are taking. They're looking at toxicity and they're saying, okay, something needs to be done about this. I will say, I've been in a lot of game communities. BDO is one of the least toxic communities I've ever been in. That being said, there's always going to be toxicity in an MMO. There's always going to be there, right? But the devs are looking at ways that, like, okay, we can't just permanently ban people like other games can. This is a game based off long-term progression. People grind for 6 years. You know what I mean? Like, if they say one or two bad things, they shouldn't be banned. Like, all of that progression should not immediately vaporize because they messed up 1 or 2 times, right? And I think that's fair. I think that's a fair stance. However, they've been really delicate about bans in our game. They're very, man. If you've been permabanned in BDO, you have really messed up.
Yeah,
right.
You have to really try to get banned in this game,
like permanently. Yeah. Like, oh my goodness.
They will literally give you a permanent chat restriction before they will ban your account for toxicity, verbal toxicity in the game.
Yeah. Right.
Like, you have to really try hard to get banned or cheat. Those are your 2 options.
Like, how do you get banned if you're chat banned permanently? If you're chat banned from the game permanently, how are you going to get banned, like, from the game as a whole? Like, but like, so they take basically every step they can to not permanently ban people. And I think that this is one of those things they're going to try to do. They're introducing these systems to reduce toxicity without having to ban people. Like, personally, and I've said this many times, I think that I think they really should just be more diligent about bans. Like, there's a way to handle it, right? Like, okay, well, you just give them a step-up system like League has, where you just ban them, like you chat ban them, you know, a few times. They get progressively longer. First, it's like a 2-day chat ban. Then it's like a 2-week chat ban. Then it's a month chat ban. Then they're like, okay, 2-day ban from the game, right? And then you get banned and your honor gets locked, right? Then you get like a 5-day or a full 7-day week from the ban from the game. Then you get a 2-week ban from the game. And if you, within like a month period of getting 2-week banned, immediately fuck up again, they permanently ban you. I think that would be a fair system for BDO.
That's how the chat restrictions work already. If you get chat restricted once, it's for 24 hours. You get chat restricted again, I think it's for a week. 14 days, 30 days, 60, and then I think it's permanently after 60.
Right.
How do you know that? Is that from experience?
Not me. I do know somebody in this game that is permanently
chat restricted. She goes to a different school, Jay. Don't worry.
Oh.
I do know somebody in the game that is permanently chat restricted and cannot type in the game. They have a chat restriction for 100 years on their account.
Oh.
Good.
Yeah,
like
I agree. I totally agree. I told him the first time not to do that.
Maybe that's why Dashy never says anything in chat. Maybe that's why. Like, wait, there are a lot of people in the video game. Man, they just kind of stopped talking. That's good. Honestly, that feels better. You can block people and stuff, but I really do think they should be a little bit more diligent with the bans. As it is, they went this way with it. Where okay, we're just going to change the system as a whole. My biggest concern, and I do share Tiltus's concern, is removing things from the game without instead adding something else in return makes the player base feel like you're just stepping away from PvP. Right? Like you're just trying to get away from PvP entirely. Like you don't care about that player base anymore. That is kind of concerning. And so like Tiltus, does it feel like that to you?
Yeah, well, yeah, absolutely it does. Like we were already like people were. Here's how bad it is. 1,000 players to 2,000 players on North American servers, when they announced Boss Blitz and they announced Land of the Morning Light, they announced how it was going to go. It was gloom and doom because everybody was like, open world is dead, open world is dead, open world is dead. It didn't really change that much. Just like I think I told people for months before it came out, I was like, it's not going to change anything. People are going to go do their Boss Blitz for a couple hours and they're going to be back in the mainland grinding like they were normally. Yeah. This, however, does like it entirely changes open world PvP The deck system is I still hate the deck system, but that is what it is.
Right,
The rest
too.
of it,
There's no objective. Like,
oh no,
we're just-
I didn't mean that. I just meant from like a standpoint of like, because we're not like, the thing is like it's the case of like a few bad apples like rot the whole bunch, right? So it's like you have some players that purposely go out of the way to bully, but like Epidemic doesn't go out of our way to bully.
Yeah, right.
We
Neither
have
does Reforce.
long-standing decks
we
that are
don't-
up right now, but that's because it goes back and forth, right? It's because they do something to us, we do something to them, they do something to us, and so it just goes back and forth, right? And then eventually somebody will be like, all right, this is enough, let's squash the beef, you know?
Yeah.
That's how a lot of times it goes. I mean, I've done that my entire BDO career, so yeah, I've never been a bully, but I've definitely had plenty of open world experiences. But it would be nice if, like, all right, we're removing this system from the game. We're getting rid of open world PvP, but we're going to introduce a new system where all 2,000 players that want to do open world PvP, y'all can go do your open world PvP somewhere. But we're not getting that. So that, I think, is where the rub comes in. It's because the PvP player base has been crying for like 4 months that open world's dead.
We're always crying, dude. We're always crying about something.
We are literally always crying.
No,
We're the loudest. We're the loudest, smallest percentage in
We're
the
so
entire
stupid.
game. But
yeah, like,
that being said, it is like at some point it's like, man, I wish they would pay a little bit of attention to PvP.
I think, yeah,
like there's players that enjoy it, and when you look at a lot of the streamers that have been with BDO the longest,
they're all PvPers. They're all PvPers.
And so, like, a lot of your top streamers on Twitch are PvPers, and they want to do PvP for fun. So giving them an avenue to do that stuff on their stream would be nice. Granted, there's not a lot of people that do open world PvP anymore anyways, because it is relatively dead. But it would be nice if they could replace our system with something else, you know? It's like, all right. Here, give me something so I can continue to be a PvPer.
Yeah, or expand on it, right? Like, that's what I would love to see. My biggest gripe with open world PvP, and a big reason why it's dead, is what the is the point? Dude, I already know, as the shot caller, right? I'm the guy that shows up to the GVG, and I don't get to have fun. I get to shot call, right? Like, I got to show up. It's more fucking work for me. And for what? What is the objective here? Farm them on the spawn? Teabag them? Chat PvP? I can't be fucked. Like, most people in the game probably honestly take that stance. It's just like, why are we even fighting? Number up good? That what, our war score is higher than yours? Now that guild decks are mutual, can we add rewards? Or like getting a certain amount of
who gets to 500 kills first? Who gets to 1,000 kills first? Like, how long do you want it to go? And what are the rewards for it?
Like, you can only kill, but like, there obviously people would try, like, and one of our chatters,
if we can exploit it, we will.
Yeah, so one of our chatters said, do you think Guild Wars should get a reward as a war objective? Like, a winning guild gets 10% combat and scaly XP for winning, or you declare war over a spot and you can get 5 AP DP against the mobs there. I actually think that is it. Now that decks are mutual, that's on the table. But the thing is, you have to make it so that we can exploit it, because it's can we cheat it and how? In the PvP scene. So like, all you got to do is you got to say, all right, well, if the same, you can't kill the same person more than 3 times in a row in a 24-hour period or something, or 5 times in a row in a 24-hour period or something, and get rewarded for it, right? Because then you avoid this like war score trading, which is inevitably going to happen for grind spot stuff, right?
And honestly, if you want to organize fucking like 40 people to trade war score back and forth, like, whatever, bro. But if you could reduce it to where it's not just like one player, like just padding the stats, oh, I hit the 50 kill mark, all right, I'll see you in an hour, I'll let you do it to me, kind of thing, then it's totally fine.
One of our other chatters says, what's the point of adding an Archer server? Isn't it better for PvPers to enjoy one server equals more confrontation? That was my argument earlier. Tiltus, I'm curious, would you rather there be it be one more competitive server, or would you rather them add like 2 or 3 more Arsha servers? What's your take on that?
As somebody that likes grinding on Arsha, when I grind on Arsha. Number 1, because it breaks the monotony of grinding, but number 2, it's because I like my 50% drop rate. So I would like to see a combination of like both. If you give me like 1 more extra server so that like I can at least try to compete for my spots, and so that I'm not just getting like straight blasted out of a spot because there's 50 people there. That's what happened. So when I did my cup grind, that was the worst thing about trying to grind on Arsha is there was so many people there all the time, and it's close to Heidel, so there's just always people running through it on Elvia.
Yeah.
It was like really annoying to try to get a spot or to hold it for more than 5 minutes. So there has to be like a fine line. Honestly, I would just like to see, like, if we could, here was my kind of thought process with adding more Arsha servers. If they add more Arsha servers, give PvP guilds the ability to make Arsha servers their home servers. And I guarantee you, so many PvP guilds would just immediately move to Arsha. And then you have all the open world you could always want. All your PvPers are always on the same set of servers. You can do your decks, you can do your open world fights, you can do whatever you want. And if you don't want to do that, then go to a different server. You have a 5-minute cooldown.
I kind of like that. Yeah, I mean, I think adding more Arsha servers is okay. If you add like because all the PvP guilds will all make their home servers the Arsha channels, like instantly.
Yep.
And like all of them will just constantly fight each other all the time on the Arsha servers without even necessarily needing to be decked, which I would take that as a solution. That would be fine too. But like I think these guild changes, I think the war changes were a necessary evil. And if honestly they're beating a dead horse at this point, they need to do something with open world PvP. Take it away and give us something new. Like you can add to the current system, like we just said, you can give us buffs and like grind buffs and stuff like that. Again, since guild decks are mutual now, and you can make the system so that it can't be exploited. They'd have to think it through, right? You can't just like let people trade kills back and forth. But like it's definitely balanceable, and now that they're mutual, you're like, okay, and it gives guilds, bro, if we got an incoming deck from Epidemic, we would be like, okay, Reforge is going to accept this deck, and now we want to fight, right? Because we're gonna try to fight you for like the drop rate buff or whatever it is, right? There's an objective now. There's a reason to go out and fight, right? There's a reason to go out in PvP. I think that would be a much better version of what we have now, which is just one-sided guild decks that are just people just running around, running players into the ground that don't even want to fight.
Yeah. Like I said, I totally like after I watched the video that Jay Kuhn linked, which you should totally link that in the chats real quick if you have it, Jay Kuhn.
Yeah,
because it was a good watch because it changed my mindset on it a little bit where I went from very vehemently against it. I was so mad that I was like, you know what? Honestly, this isn't really that bad of a change because I see why the change is being made. That being said, I hate it when they take systems away from me and don't give me something back. Because I like open world PvP. That is like the number one reason why I will randomly log into the game or pull the game out of my tray is because I get a ping for a GVG and I'm like, oh boy, here we go.
You have the opposite reaction that I do. If I get a ping for open world, I
tell people when I show up, I'm like, I am not shot calling this. You are insane if you think I'm shot calling open world. It's not gonna happen.
I don't have a choice. I don't have a choice. I join the call and everybody just looks at me like a dodo bird.
I just tell them it's not gonna happen. I'm just like, absolutely not. Like, y'all are crazy. But I really enjoy decks. Like, I really enjoy GVGing. That's why that's one of the reasons why I go to Garmoth like every single night.
A lot of players do that.
Yeah, because after Garmoth, all right, it's time to GVG for the next half hour.
There's 14 Garmoths.
Yeah.
Trini, you heard him?
Yeah.
Go ahead and send the deck on Epidemic.
Hey, yo, relax, dog. I ain't trying to kill our forge or anything, you know.
No, yeah, very funny. All right, yeah, no, I think you got this twisted. All right, no, but seriously though, like I really do think that the changes are good for the game as a whole, and it helps us retain our player base. The players that I do agree. I am a little concerned that they just, when you rip away a system like this and without replacing it with something better, it does make your core base, which are all PvPers to the game, it makes us nervous. Right? It makes us nervous. Now, they are doing some changes, so we'll pivot off the dev note just a little bit here. I'm sure we'll work our way back to it somehow. It's going to be a circular argument too. But the node war changes that are on the global labs have they're basically buffing fort health by like 5 to like 8 times, and then like the like structures like the Flag Factory are like 12 times tankier. The Ricos are like 4 times tankier. Everything's tankier. All the structures for Node Wars are now going to be tankier. Jay, you probably don't have much of a take on this. Do you? Jay, I'll let you get it out early if you have one. But like,
they're increasing the HP on structures. Oh
in
my
Node War.
god,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
He's like, oh my god, how does this affect Olins at all?
That's crazy. I know.
Oh my god.
That's crazy. I mean, wouldn't that make the whole Node War longer?
It does. Technically
It
make the whole
does,
Node War
and
longer.
We'll talk about it in a minute, but yeah. You got anything else you want to add in there?
Well, okay, so the biggest thing that's preventing me from going to Node War is that, okay, so I really like really cool collectible things, and in World of Warcraft, you could get you get PvP mounts, you got PvP specific, transmog and all that stuff.
Yeah,
if they gave me a really cool costume to go for, like let's say I have to go to Node War to get my Node War bells, and I can trade, I don't know, like 1,000 Node War bells for like a cool costume, maybe I would be more inclined to go to Node War.
That is true. I would also be more inclined to go.
That's why Jakku joined a Node War guild in the first place, was because he needed the crystal.
The glorious Ocrats, and now
he know, like the system is there. They already know. They're like, how can we get players to do PvP?
They got me once.
Give the PvPers rewards. Haha.
Yeah, he literally joined APOC Alliance and then they died. Never mind the fact. Never mind the fact that there was like a multi-year gap there. But honestly, it's a flow chart. First, Jakku joined. Then the guild stopped node warring and sieging. It's a direct correlation. He got what he wanted. He infected them.
You fought them last night. They're doing fine.
Honestly, yeah, join Reforged. Then I don't have to work anymore. But no, I mean, it's a good take. It tells us like what gets people. I like Jay's take because it tells us what players like. What will get players to try PvP for the first time.
Yep.
Right. And Jay, now that you're in a PvX guild once again, what do you like? So the only thing that's going to get you back into PvP at this point is what, like you said, like the player specific mounts, player specific skins, stuff like that.
Yeah, cool stuff. You know what would be really cool? Okay, so in Arena Solaire, you know how there's really interesting items like Slumbering Sage's armor, which is like a DR version of Dimtree, or the Stormy Eye earring, which is like the boss grade evasion ring. If we could have access to those, like through PvP, maybe I would do PvP. You know.
You want
maybe I would do a PvP
in your PvP game.
Maybe. Just for like, yeah, great rewards for doing stuff that you want to do. Wait.
I feel like I'm gonna be honest. All right, hear me out. What do you think? All right, both these headlines are in the same patch notes. Which one do you think people prioritize? Headline 1: we're removing open world PvP from the game. No more flagging. Headline 2: we're adding players. All of these 5 new player specific skins that can only be obtained through Node Wars and Siege and Arena of Solaire. Right, achieving a certain rank in Arena of Solaire and stuff. Which one would you guys be either pissed? Would you be more pissed? Yeah, obviously Jay, but like Tiltus, would you be more pissed that open world PvP is gone, or would you be happier that we're finally get something that should have been in the game for the last 6 years? I'm not wrong. Like it absolutely this is low hanging fruit. This should have been here forever ago.
It hurts because like open world PvP is gonna be like
so good.
Relatively dead after these patches come through. So it's like,
right? Yeah,
I guess I'm just happy that we get rewards for PvP.
We did it.
That is where we are at.
It's only because open world is so bad already that it's just like, I guess.
Yeah. I feel like the PvP community would not care about these changes at all if they just suddenly they gave you. Okay, so here's the thing: if you killed 100 war targets, and keep in mind they had to be at least 30 different people. right? Or something from the same guild in a mutual guild deck. You got this badass, like electric looking outfit with this cool title that looked green and shit or whatever, right?
Mhm.
I think that would we would be totally fine with these changes. There wouldn't be no riots in the street. You wouldn't even hear anything that happened, right? Like, it would be awesome. It would be sick. Guilds would want to fight each other. Like, there's a very simple solution to this problem, and it's just to add rewards for PvP.
Distract them.
Yeah, since we can't bully people anymore.
Give me shiny things to distract me from my anger.
Jay, stop comparing us to toddlers. He's not wrong, though. if they gave us like really big, like really just like cosmetic rewards for PvP, it doesn't have to always be, oh, we're gonna give them a gear upgrade, we're gonna give them silver, we're gonna give no, just give us the cosmetic upgrades, give us the title. How many people literally just do Siege for the week because they're trying to get Stormtrooper? Like, and that's like the only...
I know many people.
Exactly, dude. Give us titles like that in Node War. If you, like, oh my gosh. Do you know how much more Node Wars would come alive if they added a Stormtrooper title to Node Wars? Like, if you get 100 kills or you get 50 kills in a Node War or something, you got a special title that made you all electric and stuff? Like, that'd be sick. Again, players would not have any problems with you removing one-sided guild decks if you just gave them, all right, now your actual guild decks give you rewards, right? And not silver rewards. Give us cosmetic. They let you get a free exclusive PvP dance. You get a sticker that you can put. You get a sticker that you can put on like a tree or something, and it stays there for like 10 minutes, 30 minutes, or an hour, or whatever.
I'm spraying it on somebody's fort every day.
Exactly. You just
run up.
Just walk up. Yeah, like the Overwatch spray thing.
Yeah.
Right? Like, let us have that shit, and we would be super happy. It doesn't always have to be about progression. It doesn't always have to be about silver.
I like how you added the sound effect. That's
we all knew what I was talking. Have you ever played Overwatch, Jay?
We know. I have. I played.
So I mean, yeah, of course you did. You fucking bitch. Stupid little ice bitch.
It's so fun. Just shoot them in the face.
He doesn't actually have to be good at PvP. He just sprays the gun in their general direction. Classic Jay.
That's why I played May.
Left because there were no rock golems in the game. All right, so like we got off subject a little bit. Node War changes. So the fort health, Tiltus, how happy are both of us? Yeah. Oh yeah, the fort health. Tiltus, how happy are both of us, dude? Especially the T2 fort health, man. I could hear us both like finishing when the patch note came. It's like, oh god, yeah.
You have no idea. God. I was at
so
work
much
when
better.
I read them, and I was like, oh my god. I was like, I gotta take a 5-minute break. I'll be back.
So much better.
I can't believe it took that long, dude.
Bro, T2s were like the most egregiously squishy. Like, it was, I mean, the flame towers couldn't be upgraded, right? And you had all of these, the way the capped gear worked, you could just vaporize a flame tower in one push. You went from having both flame towers to no flame towers in like under a minute.
Yep.
Like, it was.
Heaven forbid you get CTG'd on while you're out of base or across the war zone, and you don't have a staff at home to pop your own CTG. Because your base is gonna go fast. You're lucky if you live.
Right.
I mean, to put it in perspective of how bad it is, we started a war last week. I started outside of zone, about 50 clicks from somebody's base. The war started. I ran in by myself. I stripped 2 recovery centers, got a Hawacha to 50, took out an elephant nursery, and got a flame tower to 50 by myself in 5 minutes.
Oh my god, dude.
Nobody else was there.
One person
almost stripped half a base in 5 minutes by themselves in T2s.
Right.
That's how bad the HP is.
Now, I will say that T4s, people got what they wanted on T4s. They wanted lower capped T4s. Like, they wanted lower man caps. So, like, instead of only having 70 man and 100 man T4s, people wanted to fight on 30 and 50 man T4s. And I said the problem going, I was like, if you have a 30 man T4, that war is never ending. Do you have any idea how long it takes 30 people to kill a tier 4 fort and tier 4 like flame towers and stuff? It's obnoxious. Absolutely obnoxious. So, like, I don't think that the tier 4 changes actually made it through, thank goodness. Because if they made those any tankier, the low cap nodes would just, they would just never end. It would be miserable. But the tier 2 and the tier 3 cap changes I think are great. I'm curious how you feel about the tier 1. Like they said they increased the fort health by 5.6 times.
Yeah, that's kind of
tier
nutty for
1.
T1s.
Dude, they're never killing the fort, man.
T1s
They're
are
never going to kill it, dude.
Yeah. The thing about T1s that you have to remember is that they're capped. The highest capped on a T2 or a T1 is a Friday night 35 man, I believe. And those still stalemate because there's too much fort and there's not enough damage. So like you're talking about you're increasing the fort health 5 times for 20-man nodes. Go to Northern Plains of Serendia on Thursday night and drop with 20 people and try to take out a fort and see how long it takes you. It's going to be so horrible to try to do that now. Like T1s are just going to perma stalemate now.
Yeah,
it's going to be bad.
Yeah, I don't know if it'll perma stalemate, but it's going to be just like the problem I just described on T4s.
Yeah.
It's just going to be, you just can't kill the fort anymore. I understand you want to make T1s forgiving and stuff, but like, nah, dude, you got to at least let them be able to kill the fort.
Yep.
Like, I understand making the structures maybe a little bit tankier, but like, I would rather have the structures build faster than make them more tankier, because then the T1 guilds, like, honestly, never mind. Don't do that. If the structures build any faster, you can't put pressure on a base, dude, without them getting rebuilt. Don't do that. I take it all back. But like, making structures tankier is tough on T1s. I think it's fine because it at least makes it like a reasonable reward. Like, I don't know, T1 should be a forgiving experience. If you fuck up where like a few pushes, the war shouldn't necessarily be over. But if you mess up your base defense a couple times, okay, well, you should have time to rebuild and get that done. So I'm curious to see. I think the T1s are almost the most impactful if they do make it through. And I think the T2 changes were the most necessary.
The fort health does not change on T1s. You're thinking about recovery centers on T1s, maybe they got 5 times.
Oh, well, then maybe I read it wrong. It was translated from Korean. So, like, I was trying to read the Korean script.
It doesn't look like T1's got any changes.
Okay, so the
fort health. Everything else did get HP, but fort health did not.
Okay, so the rest of the structures got changes, but like,
yeah.
I think. How do you feel about recovery centers like quadrupling their HP?
Oh, it's. I don't know how bad it is on T3s, but it is desperately needed on T1s and T2s. They evaporate. I mean, like I said, it took me 5 minutes to strip 2 by myself on like last Monday. It was like rolled up. I was on the fort. No players were loaded in. By the time players were loaded in, I already had 2 recuff centers down to like 30% because I started right next to the base. That's how quick they go. They desperately needed HP.
Yeah, I think that, okay, so the trade-off for those of us that don't know and are listening and aren't crazy familiar with how node wars work, recovery centers are considered soft structures. At least that's our term by the community. Soft structures are structures that are not going to take very much damage to like a cannon shot. Cannons can siege the base from a very long distance away and do a lot of damage to what we call hard structures, which are like flame towers and Hawatches, things that can fight back. Those are very tanky. So if your whole guild walks up on a flame tower, it's going to take them a really long time to kill a flame tower. Versus a cannon, then it might take 30 or 40 shots, but it can fire from long range and nobody has to die. Now, if a cannon tries to shoot a recovery center and kill that, it's going to take closer to 100 shots. And now it's basically going to be impossible for a cannon to kill a recovery center. So trying to cannon down bases by themselves is going to be really, really hard, right? The entire idea of soft structures like your flag factory or your recovery centers or your supply depots is that people actually have to hit those structures if you want to kill them. You can't just kill them with cannons. Or, I mean, you can, but it'll take a really long time. I think the only real impact that it's going to have on large-scale PvP is that really strong base positions just got way stronger. And it's not because they're buffing like FT health or anything like that. It's because you're never going to kill the recovery centers and you're never going to kill their soft structures with cannon fire. So no, do not drop on bash and base. You know what I mean? Don't drop on the really cancerous node word spots.
One thing that has me a little bit concerned as well is you know how so when you place down a structure during node war, there is a timer that ticks. It varies by the structure that you have placed. And as it ticks up, it gains a very small incremental amount of health, but it
True.
starts with very, very little health. Now, that being said, if you take a recovery center that is 80% built and you multiply that health that it had by 4 times,
Not dying, bro. Like,
can I kill the recovery center, or is that thing going up? Because that's one of the things that like lower number like T3s or T2s, excuse me, like will struggle with is like you have to send, like you only have so many flex people to be able to send at a base. And if you are sending in, 2 people to try to keep rebuilds down, and all of a sudden the rebuilds are, 4 or 5 times tankier, it's going to be really difficult for those handful of people to try to keep those structures down. So I'm a little concerned about that. So I almost hope that the health on rebuilding structures does not change, and only the health on fully built structures change, because it's already kind of hard to keep structures down as is. And
I don't know,
I'm
man.
speaking from flex.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I feel like every time we're like rebuilding something, a lawn just like lands and spins one time, and the thing
That
just
is
dies.
true. Yeah, remove lawn, then continue on with my changes.
It's like the most miserable experience. Like you're
That's
desperately defending, and here comes this lawn that you can't do anything about. Oh, where's it gonna land? Of course, it's gonna land right on the structure and just spin, and then it's dead. So
That's true. Remove lawn and then go through with the rest of my changes.
Okay,
that
that's
fixes it.
Yeah, so I think
lawn is the outlier, I think, in that situation.
you bring up
most,
no good.
most other classes aren't able to get in and out and do like that kind of damage that quickly and then leave, which is the problem that lawn has right now.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up an interesting point. Recovering like the building structures, actually, I'm almost positive that the rebuilding structures, like health as they're rebuilding, is based off of a percentage health of the structure as a whole.
Correct. That's my understanding of it. Right
I think
that
that just makes rebuilds a lot tankier, or at least it makes recovery center rebuilds a lot tankier. Which in turn, you're going to see a lot more stalemating fights, which is miserable for Node Wars. Now, one of the changes we didn't talk about yet that I kind of want to talk about is the reward changes for Node Wars. It's huge. Now, Jay, this is something that you can touch on. Is this going to make you do PvP, Jay? More silver. Woo!
It's just more silver. It's just I can get.
He's like, I'll go do Olins and make more money. Bro.
I can do So yeah, I'll be over here at Olin's.
I said before, doesn't care.
Yeah. Again, give me something exclusive. Give me like, I don't know, like a cool horse mount, horse armor, for my
literally has a T10.
My soon to be T10 Doom that I don't have yet, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm happy about the changes myself. They're essentially what they're doing is when you win a node war, you gain, or lose a node war, you gain a certain amount of silver from that node war win or loss. And what they've done is they've increased that number by a pretty significant amount for wins and a decent amount for losses. Now that being said, why more silver? Give me something else.
Dude, yeah, we're missing the point. Like, you know what I mean? Like, although, honestly, in this case, it should be silver. If you lose, you should still get a substantial amount of silver. I like that. Especially these team fights, bro, there can only be one winning guild. Like, I like the fact that Reforged, who loses, like, all of its node wars, like, we would absolutely love to make more silver for taking L's, you know what I mean? Because we take a lot of those. But like, so I like that. What I don't like is they refuse to address siege sticks. This drives me nuts. So currently there's a mechanic in the game where if you own a node, you can place for siege, right? Well, guilds will snipe, and it's like whatever. That's always going to be an issue. But you're actually encouraged to drop a fort for siege, because everyone in your guild that is up for siege, even if your stick goes down and nothing happens, gets 150 million silver.
And the current system that's in place to prevent sniping does not matter for siege, because post siege, the system resets for the week. So even if you don't hit the lockout period, you still are fine. You can still place on Sunday, and there's no punishment for you dropping a stick for siege.
So
It's a little weird.
it's stupid. It's not weird. It's stupid. Just call it what it is. It's a bad design. You should not give rewards to get like it. What it's doing is it's just ruins normal fights, right? Like guilds that actually want to fight and like have a set up team fight or like actually want to come to siege can't actually place on the region that they want to place on because there's all these extra forts placed down, or there's very critical forts in bad positions because some idiot in a PvX guild just ran out. I'm gonna put a fort down, and he just slams it down, and it happens to be really close to one of the best positions in the region. You know what I mean? And that just ruins the team fight for the week. That's obnoxious, and it should not be allowed. Like, instead, take that money and give it. Like, siege should be for the guilds that actually want to come to siege. If you want to snipe nodes, whatever. But siege, you really should not be rewarding people for just dropping a stick and then not showing up for siege. That's obnoxious. Now, they did try to circumvent this a little bit. The siege force costs 1 billion silver in guild funds, but they didn't address the fact that guild funds really aren't used for anything anyway. So, like, nobody cares if it's 1 billion silver in guild funds. Nobody cares. It doesn't actually affect anything. So I like that they're giving more silver for losses. I think for gains, like if you win a node war or you do really well in a node war for your guild, I think they should give special prizes for that are not silver. Not crystals, not item drop rate increase scrolls. Give us special titles, give us special outfits, give us special effects, like whatever it is. Give us special cosmetic stuff for winning node wars and stuff that people actually want to go for.
Did you see that they changed? Oh, sorry,
No,
I didn't mean to cut you off, but did you see that they changed the number of deaths and kills for snipe guilds?
Yeah, to 100.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. They just get up and they just run straight into us and die. You know what I mean? Like
The funny thing is like I'm pretty sure that there's a couple of T2 guilds that barely hit 50 before they get blitzed off a node.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see if they're going to be able to hit 100.
We felt so bad. There was one time we thought that there was another PvP guild on the node with us on this tier 4 100-man node. It's a Wednesday, right? And like we capped. We capped the node war for a 100-man, and we knew where their fort was because we had scouted it ahead of time and we were ready to go. Right? Like we did the pre-war CTG. We're all sitting there on our horses, and the node war starts, and 100 reforged came over the hill, and that dude at midnight paused his fort, like pooped himself. It was like Jon Snow in Battle of the Bastards, but he had no army behind him. Like, it was really rough. I think the fort died in like 45 seconds. It was crazy. It was actually just crazy.
Yeah,
but
it's
like,
pretty nuts.
I don't mind snipe guilds. I really on node wars. That's like whatever. Like that's always going to be a thing. Like no matter what, that is always going to be a thing, and they don't care because if they get locked out, whatever. We tried. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't matter to them. There's always going to be snipe guilds. Please fix the siege system. That's what I care about. Like, stop blocking the major fights for siege, right? Okay, we've talked a lot about PvP. I want to talk about something that Jay can contribute with. Jay, Cronstone changes. Cronstone changes, big man. Can you walk our listeners through what's going on with the Cronstone changes?
So they are increasing the costumes and increasing the amount of extractable crons that you can get, as well as the the Valk's Cry. By about 120%, and so this is not okay. I can definitely say that
spit it out.
What's the word for it? Like,
we've got this. Just say it. It's pay to win. Go ahead.
I didn't want to say it. Okay, yeah.
I'll
this
say
is
it.
going to.
Like,
okay, so. Okay, we've taken so many steps forward, and then we take a couple. We're taking a couple steps back now, and I just like
not just a couple, dude. Like I literally, why? Let me get this straight. Let me get this straight.
Flabbergasted.
You come out with this death note where you're like, we gotta protect all of these new players that are playing our game. Right? Like, we gotta keep them playing the game. So you literally wipe open world PvP basically from the game. And you scrub it off in this whole idea that we have to protect all these new PvE lords that are now playing our game. Like, okay, I can kind of get on board with that. But the whole reason that everyone is trying, it's twofold. There are two reasons why everyone's playing BDO right now. One, well, actually there's three. One, the Lost Ark developers are playing for the home team. Um, two, the whole idea of BDO in the West and just in the world in general was that it was the super pay to win game or whatever. And the reason people are giving it a shot again is because all of these content creators finally stood up. They tried the game, they stood up and they said, okay, no, it's not nearly as pay to win as it was. Like, it's totally fine now. It's fine. Is there pay to win in the game? Absolutely. But like, it's manageable. A free to play player can keep up. You know what I mean? And that gets a big influx of players back to the game because it's a great system. And the third is that there's all these PvE aspects of the game now where you've got like ranked systems, boss splits, all this crazy shit, right? All this extra content stuff. And your solution at this moment with all of these players that we finally fixed our pay to win reputation, you come out with this banger fucking idea. Who around the desk on the dev team was like, I've got it. We increased the price of vendor crons to 3 million silver to make it harder for those free-to-play players to keep up with the game. And then, in the same patch, we increase the amount of silver and extractable cron stones you get from outfits. And everyone else on the dev team was like, that's it, patch it, send it out. Like, it's good. There will be no backlash. What are you thinking? What are you thinking?
Do you remember what I said the very next day after this patch? We got these patch notes. I said, hey guys, what can we do to make our game even better? Grab gun, proceed to shoot yourself in foot. Not once, but twice in the same patch.
Grab the extra gun in case of misfire. And fire
really
with both
swung.
weapons.
They really swung, and they were like, oh, this is a great time to do it. And I was like, Now,
this is so stupid.
I will say, and this is the caveat of this topic currently right now, is that costumes on Korea currently are already more expensive. Well, were already more expensive than they were on North America. We did not have that patch. That was a Korean only patch. There's a amount of me that is coping so hard that this will be a KR exclusive because KR has very different views on pay to win than we do here in the West. So I'm really hoping that they're like, okay, all the KR servers are now crowded. They're now overcrowded. They're overrun or whatever it is. I saw a screen cap from Korea and their servers are like, holy balls, dude. It is insane how populated that game is in Korea right now. So I'm hoping that they're like, hey, for you Korean fellows that just came from Lost Ark, if you want to catch up and you don't mind spending money, here you go, because Korea's okay with that shit. If we get this patch in the West, and I don't think it's nearly as bad on North American servers as it is, because there are still plenty of players in here that wail really, really hard. The biggest gripe I saw when I was looking into this patch is that the EU players were losing their minds because they don't have many whales in the EU. So their costume market is really bad. And they're like, we literally buy all of our crons from vendor. So now you've just literally nerfed everything for like essentially European players because they don't have a costume market like ours is.
Oh god. The EU, honestly, the NA server looked at those changes and they were like, we just profit from this.
NA is like, I mean, it's bad, right? But like,
NA's
it's
looking around like
to get your costumes off the market in North America. If you know what costumes to go for, if you use Garmoth and you keep an eye on what costumes are selling and you have the silver to throw at it, you can buy them off Central Market and you'll be all right most of the time. So
EU, EU's got, they're like, hey, we can buy crons from our vendor for 2 million server. And KR's like, we can buy ours for 3 million server. And NA's like, you can buy cron stones from the vendor
crons?
Nobody does that in NA. You just snipe outfits forever.
Yep.
Right? Like, you don't even bother. Like, the only reason in NA to actually do it is because you're like the most impatient person in the world.
Yep.
Right? Like, and you just want to throw away your money. I just got a screenshot from one of our listeners that literally shows the Korean market, and it's just got a full row of premium outfit boxes.
Are literally sitting.
There's thousands of each one just sitting. Yeah, and they're like, they have to be min priced, right? Because eventually,
like I said, a Korean view on pay to win is very different than it is in the West. So I'm really hoping that they've understood, and it seems like to some extent they have started to understand, like, Western, we don't like pay to win over here. There are whales that will enjoy pay to winning your game, and if you can keep those whales happy enough but keep the rest of your player base like satisfied, you'll only get good publicity, which is kind of where BDO's right now. There are whales, guys. Like, don't get it twisted. There are tons of them, and they buy all the costumes and they put them on the market so that you can get your Cron stones. But yeah. I don't think this patch in particular needs to come to the West, because I think that backlash right now, especially after so many like large content creators are like, yeah, the game's pay to win, but like it's not as bad as everybody makes it out to seem. Like, you can free to play and pretty much keep up. They hand out free shit all the time. Like, you can keep up to some extent, and if you just dedicate some time grinding, you will normally be all right. But if they literally, all those videos went out in the last like month about how BDO is like not as bad, and then they immediately turn around and drop this patch, everybody's gonna be like, well, that was a fucking lie.
I actually don't care that they increase the silver that each outfit is worth, and then the Cron stones for extracting. I actually don't care about that. I think that as you make more silver in the game, like per hour and stuff, you do have to kind of increase that to, because like there's a fine line of pay to win that they're trying to maintain, and I think they do a relatively good job of it. As people make more silver per hour, they have to kind of every once in a while increase the silver of outfits and how many Cron stones you're getting per outfit. That I don't mind, because people will also sell more outfits as a result. So like, you know, the free-to-play players still get their exchange. It's not as big of a deal. I think the most egregious part about that patch is moving vendor crons from 2 to 3 million silver. Jay, what do you think about that?
Yeah, it's just gonna make everything a lot more expensive for the free-to-play player to cron things. So it's gonna be the rate. If you guys didn't know, the current rate right now at 840 million silver for the 621 crons that we get. I think it's 621. It's a 1.35 mil per crons. And the new patch, it's about like 2.1 bill for about 993 crons, and then that's 2.25 mil per cron, but that's with also the crons going up from 2 to 3 mil. So technically it is still going to save you more money than if you were to buy vendor crons, but we don't want the vendor crons to go to 3 mil.
Yeah. I think the worst is just for the EU players. I saw a lot of backlash for the EU players about this.
Oh, yeah, because they're screwed, man.
Yeah. I mean, they're like BDO, like NA, you still have to wait for your costumes, but if you know what you're looking for, you can typically get your costumes within like a couple of hours most of the time. It's not that bad. But like EU, where they don't have a costume market, that's rough.
It is rough.
They're gonna have to wait a long time for their costumes, or just cough up the 3 million silver per cron, and I don't think that's a healthy spot to be at.
Yeah,
and I know like one of the biggest backlashes when cron prices went from 1 mil to 2 mil was the horse community. The horse community lost their mind. Do you remember that?
The horse community was so pissed.
They lost their minds because it used to be 100 mil, and this is back before silver was super inflated that this happened. It was 100 mil per horse attack, or per horse attempt to protect your, half your materials. And then they upped it to 200 mil, and the horse community about burned itself to the ground. They were so mad. They were very upset with that change. So I don't know.
Nowadays, there is like the horse community is like, whatever, dude. We don't even care anymore. They just gave everyone a T9. Why do we even care?
Exactly. They were like, all right, we'll appease the horse community, then we'll jack the prices up.
And again, we revisit the analogy that Jay had earlier of the baby with the rattle. You just give us a toy, and then we won't care that you're trying to feed us applesauce. You know what I mean? So, okay, the next thing I kind of want to talk about is the, honestly, Jay brought it up, and it's one of your topics, Jay, so I'll let you touch on it, but the item price changes that they have going on in KR. So you wanted to talk on the fact that inflation is something that kind of naturally occurs over the course of most MMOs, right? And BDO being no exception to that rule, the price of raw materials and elixirs and enhancements and stuff like that are increasing to more than double they were before. What do you think this kind of impact this kind of has? Is this good?
I do think it's just again, as I mentioned before, it's just a natural thing that occurs because we're making more money, right? And so we need to keep silver valuable, and this is like one of those ways to keep silver valuable. I mean, the textbook definition of inflation is, you know, prices tend to go up when the demand for goods is more than what can be supplied, and maybe this is a way to keep them more valuable, you know. And it's definitely interesting how what, you know, when we talk about like economy and inflation and stuff, that it also works in a virtual game as well, because I keep referring to World of Warcraft because, you know, I take a lot of my experiences from World of Warcraft because I kind of, I don't want to say like I grew up. I only played World of Warcraft for like a year and a half, but I felt like when I was playing World of Warcraft when I was like 15, I was learning so much about economy and essentially how businesses work as I was trying to make gold in the game. And so I thought that was really interesting. As for BDO, I think the prices is going up. You know, again, it's just a natural aging, natural part about aging of an MMO. So the prices going up is not really much of a surprise, really. This has happened before, right? They increased the prices of raw materials and all that other stuff before. So if anything, this would make it a lot easier to get certain items, like let's say party elixirs, right? Let's say, you know, it's really hard to get detection elixirs off the market or something, and maybe it going up to double, it would make it a lot easier to get more party elixirs. Especially, I do feel like BDO is heading towards a more PvE oriented game, right? Party PvE oriented game as well, like for like Decia's Olans, and maybe they'll Decia-fy other party grind spots, maybe Decia Upries, you know, Decia Miramok, I don't know. And so yeah, I think I think it's an overall good thing for the game to help supply the player base with materials and whatever they need for the game. So
I agree. Tiltus, what do you think?
I like it. I like it a lot because I've kind of been on this help the life skiller boat for a while. One of the big reasons I feel like NA doesn't have a lot of these elixirs sitting is because they're not profitable to make as a life skiller. So if you dedicate yourself to just doing, you know, making elixirs, making foods, doing all that kind of stuff, and it's not profitable to do it, then why do it in the first place? So hopefully this will help get some of these like finalized item markets to where they're profitable to make. That would be the biggest thing that I want to see, is that actual profits for life skilling, for dedicated life skillers that only do life skilling. They don't care about grinding, they don't care about PvP, they have their pin manos, they want to do that because they enjoy the mechanics of the game. Like, just help those guys out a little bit, because they need it, because it's not very good money to be a dedicated life skiller. You have to do something else in this game, and it sucks because the life skilling part of this game is really fleshed out and, in my opinion, pretty enjoyable. So
yeah, honestly, as one of the people that you just described, life skillers are up here. I am up tremendous with thank God. You mean I can't just sell an elixir for less than the cost of the items anymore? Like, I mean, I don't know. I am a little mixed on it though, because like increasing the price of elixirs and things like this. So what made it kind of balanced before is that if you just sold the raw materials to make something, you actually made more money than if you put the materials together and made the thing. And I think that the trade-off there, the balance there, was the fact that you get experience. But yeah, you're going to trade away a little bit of silver profit, but your experience in alchemy or your experience in cooking goes up, right? But they have increased the raw material prices a number of times now, and they have not increased like the elixir prices or the meal prices and stuff like this. So I think this is just an objective win for life skillers everywhere, especially with the new mini game. We're up huge, boys. We're absolutely up massive. I love that. Wish they'd have done it sooner. Now I can just life skill all the time. Let's go and make a tremendous amount of money.
The other thing is the enhancing material going up in price too is really nice.
One thing I would like to increase the price of is alchemy stones, because I don't know if you guys know, the someone calculated that the average amount of silver needed to craft a splendid alchemy stone is about 400 bill, and so maybe if you increase the price, that they would get more regularly sold. I don't know. So that's one item I would like to see more increase in price in.
What? Wait,
And I
what was
think
that?
for the
say?
shining, this splendid alchemy stone, you know how like it's capped about 13
Of course, of
Mhm.
course, you want to see that. It's because it's the only thing. It's a Jay. You
it's-
have as someone that has absolutely no personal stake in trying to make his own like shining alchemy stone of sex. Like this dude, like it's like literally the only upgrade Jay still needs, and he's like, is someone that like, how does this patch pertain to me specifically? I think the alchemy stone
were
system.
willing.
I think
they were willing to
yeah,
increase the price of Deborah's, right? And so if Deborah's are up to 300 bill now, and 99 bill for Ted, 300 bill for Pen. So I think I don't think it'll be that big of a deal to also increase Splendid's. Basically anything in the game that does not reflect how difficult it is in terms of getting it versus the actual price of it. So
Yeah,
what
well,
were you saying before?
no, I think that alchemy stones need to be addressed separately, like entirely different than anything else, like raw materials, elixirs,
It is a very
food,
old
stuff
system,
like that. It's different.
so-
I think the whole thing needs to be reworked from the ground up. But I don't even think you touch alchemy stone prices until you fix the system, and then you can adjust
True.
as necessary. I mean, there's so few players that actually want. Is it a shining or is it a splendid? Resplendent.
Splendid is the more realistic thing to get. Shining is like kind of like very impossible to get.
The diamond one.
It's kind of
right?
like getting a pen. It's basically equivalent to like a pen fallen god. That's
Yeah,
how
just
that's
about.
how rare it is.
I would argue that it's even rarer. Just because a lot of people have Tet Fallen God and do attempts on that all the time, but no one goes for a shining alchemy stone of any kind. We've never even seen. We don't even know if the destruction or the defense one. We don't know if that one's even in the game. We don't even know if the life one's in the game. Presumably they are. We don't even know what the stats are on those things because no one's ever made one. Right?
They're out of mind. They're in the codex. You can see the stats there.
Oh, really? I mean, like in the game. They're not in the marketplace, right?
Yeah, I don't think anyone's posted them and at all. So
Yeah, let me check.
I think they only show up if somebody posts them, right? So
yeah, like I think you can't even tell what they are. Like, yeah, I guess you could go to Video Codex. I try to avoid that website, just because they embed certain streamers' streams into the website, which is obnoxiously unethical. But what are you gonna do?
So for that, use BDO.altar of gaming. Unironically, it's a way better site than Codex. It's what I use now. So much nicer. Yeah.
Really?
But you can look at what you need to craft things with a drop down menu, and it is tiered. So like if you need multiple things, you can just continue hitting the drop downs, and it'll explain to you everything that you need all the way through. It's so nice. It's so much better than Codex.
Oh, okay.
And it wasn't
Well,
always that way, and it also doesn't have embedded streamers in it. Cough, cough.
Oh, okay. Well, then this is just this is just an objective W. Like I'll be honest. I have tried to stay away from that website.
Codex. Yeah, I stay away from Codex
like
too.
the plague. As one of the content creators that I'm just like looking at that, like you got to be kidding me right now. Is obnoxiously unethical. What are you gonna do? But okay, so there's at least one more topic I want to talk about, and I want to make sure we get it off because they've made a lot of hype about this. They talked about it at the Festa a decent amount. We saw a trailer for it, but we are getting this Sea Palace event. Now I have really only seen the trailer from the Festa. So like, Jay, you said you know more about it. What are we get? What are we looking like here? Because this is kind of a hyped event. You know what I mean? When they first.
So it's a Land of Morning Light themed zone that takes place underwater, similar to Sakraya, and it's being sieged by a baby Vel. And so players must help the citizens of the Sea Palace, which are the turtles and the bunnies, defend against the threat. And I saw some images and little clips of people doing it in Korea, and you're like you transform into a turtle. I don't know if you can transform into a bunny, but I only saw a player transform into a turtle.
Blue's favorite
it's
mechanic in the entire game.
And you're kind of jumping in these like whirlpools that like launch you in a certain direction, and it's kind of like a platforming kind of event in a way. And then I think once you get to to value it hit him with water balls or something like that. That's what I saw. And so I don't know exactly what the rewards you got. I didn't really look that far, but it looks, interesting compared to the Termian event where you're usually just, I don't know, fishing and jumping across towers.
But like, why? Dude, so when they first, all right, I just rewinding this, and the reason I'm so hyped about this is because the first time they introduced the Termian event, it was like the coolest thing. I loved it. Doing the dailies every day actually felt fun. Like you got to go, you got special cosmetic rewards and stuff, and they introduced the Mysteries of Summer event, which was like this Ready Player One styled riddle game where like they sent out this like global riddle, and then the first one to get to the end of the last riddle got like this super giga prize. In this case, a black Pegasus. Like like a black T9 Pegasus, which had never existed on the server before. In fact, there were only two, one of which got, I know at least one of them got banned. I don't know if the second one got banned.
I actually personally know the person who got it in 2019. His name is Cosworth. We were in a guild together, and we've played together. We've done dailies together, and yeah, he has the T9 Black Pegasus.
Wow, that's awesome. That's super sick. But yeah, no, like stuff like that. I mean, like I was super hyped about that. You could go out. There was like a diving board, and then again, but like there was none of this. I don't know why the developers have decided it's like, oh my god, the players love changing their character into this random pick a thing, right? Every time there's some event, like the Halloween event, you know what I mean? They made you turn into one of those robots and like fight the big thing. I don't really find those events very fun. Like just like Papu Krania, it was a total flop. For like 100 different reasons, but one of the reasons is like we all thought that we were going to be beating the crap out of each other in defense of like an otter or a papu, right? But like instead it was like I'm going to turn into a papu and I'm going to fight a giant crab. Like nobody wants to do that. Stop making me do stupid crap like this. I don't know. Tiltus, how do you feel about that?
I'm indifferent. No, I'm entirely indifferent about it. It's not content that I've ever taken part in. I did take part in Rock Look Deep. That was a thing that I did take part in. Yeah.
Oh god, we talked about that before. That was a thing that
I took part in. I may take part in this. I really think that we are not the target demographic for these events, Blue, you and I. So
you don't
I
say.
think there's another different graphic entirely that they're trying to capture with this.
You don't like the turtles?
It is not us. Remember, we're 2,000 players out of what 260,000 concurrent players now. Or that's probably not an A, but we're a very small percentage here, Blue. We're maybe 5% of the NA player base is PvPers, so we are not.
No, I think it's more than. I feel like it's more than that, right? Maybe it's just the most active people. I guess so. I don't know.
I mean, when you think about how many guilds there are that Node War, it's really not that many. Even across all tiers, if you add all those players together, it's not that many.
Yeah, I mean that's true. I was just hoping for something a little bit more. I was kind of hoping to like go underwater and like have all these different games that I could do to get like different things that I could turn them in. Yeah, like, I don't know, anything. Deep sea diving. Really
underwater?
Anything.
You're underwater and you want a deep sea
I
dive?
am a boat content person. Forgive me for thinking that the underwater sea palace was going to be a fun event for me. Okay? I wanted it. Sucks.
I mean, I like these cute little events. Just like,
of course you do.
Although it might not be for everybody.
Jay, you're exactly the demographic that they're looking at. I was the opposite.
Very, what's the word for it? Like charming, right? I think when it comes to like redoing sort of these seasonal events, right? I think whenever they did Halloween, it was always like Marnie, right? Doing something with Marnie.
Like you had to, and turned into all those robots, and for every single one of the contests, you had to like do some different thing with the robot. And I was like,
dude, I love how they did like the haunted house kind of theme. They had the what is it called, the Squid Game event.
Stop it.
Stop.
No.
I told you.
No way. You like that.
We're not the target demographic here. You know what?
Stop giving them this feedback. It encourages more.
You know what this reminds me of a lot, and what I always get vibes of whenever they do this is their attempt to whatever Final Fantasy players have come over to BDO because BDO is hype right now. They're like, oh, here you go. Here's a nice Final Fantasy 14 style event that you can really feel at home doing. And I'm like, I didn't do that shit in Final Fantasy 14. I'm not doing the shit in fucking BDO. It ain't for me.
Dude, in Final Fantasy 14, they have these crazy little community events. Like recently, I was watching this video of somebody attending this like private community party called
private community party.
I've been invited to one of these private community parties.
And everybody had the RP title over their head.
Yeah,
didn't
they were all wearing bunny. They were all like the bunny girls dressed in scantily. Would you like to come to my private party?
Go ahead, Jay.
Go, Jay.
The theme was the Shrek movie, and they were all at Shrek's swamp, and they were just all dressed up as characters from Shrek, and they were just dancing around, and it was just like, what is this?
And somewhere Smash Mouth was playing on a jukebox.
Yeah, they could do that. Yeah, they were just dancing around. It was just weird. I was like, wait, I'm kind of into this maybe.
That's in BDO.
I do honestly think that these events are not targeted at the PvPers. That's why they're so vastly different. And to be honest, I'm okay with it. I wish there was like a PvP, like there needs to be a PvP event where we get to just do crazy stuff. Give us like Earth or something like that.
Ooh, you know what they should do? They should do it's kind of like Fortnite, but then they accidentally made it into a standalone game.
Oh no, dude! I thought I was gonna get through one podcast without bringing it up.
Jay,
why do you do this
every time? It's always got to be Jay.
That was a good PvP one, but unfortunately,
thanks, Jay. We know that. Thank you for that. It was super awesome, and honestly, the super successful standalone game. What was the name of it again?
Shadow Arena.
That's what it was. The very successful standalone game that was Shadow Arena could be brought back. The code is definitely still in the game. We definitely like, oh man, wouldn't that be just such a great event to have for, I don't know, spitballing here, 2 or 3 months.
Bring it back for just bring it back for like a month or something for fun.
and then I don't know, maybe this is gonna sound crazy, but you do Arena of Solaire after that, and then for like another month or two, and then when that ends, you can just bring back the other one again. You know?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That's a weird concept, bro. I don't know if you can do rotating game modes like that, man.
It's only 2023. Sure maybe in 10 more years. Yeah, maybe in 10 more years. We'll get there.
Another original idea I had was, okay, hear me out. There's like 3 lanes, right? There's like a top lane, mid lane, and a bottom lane.
This again.
Right?
And like, Blue just took his headset off. He said, "Nah, I'm out."
What?
Is he done?
I think it could be a really good
done?
one.
He's still going.
All right.
No, I'm good. No, come back.
I'm not. There's not a chance. If you turn BDO into an MMO, I'm out. I mean, I'm sorry. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. No.
We can call it Black Desert Legends. You know.
And the only playable characters in this game mode are the Papus, the Otters, the Turtles, and the Bunnies.
It's like a hellstorm of my least favorite things in the whole game. So brutal. Absolutely brutal, dude. Yeah, no, I was just hoping that the Palace event would be something a little bit more than that. And I'm glad that you kind of broke it to me now, because see, now I don't have to be incredibly disappointed when I swim into it. I can just try to make fun of it. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to our next topic here, which is sandbox systems. So, Tiltus, you said that you kind of wanted to talk about this a little bit, so I'll let you kind of lead the discussion.
So we touched on a lot of the PvP sides of these systems. The PvP is what inspired this system or this conversation about systems specifically, because it was one of those moments where we're losing essentially a system, right? They're changing it, but in reality, I feel like open world, except for mutual agreed upon GVGs at certain times at certain places for nothing other than fun, is kind of the only real aspect that you're going to use for the deck system now. So that loss of system is kind of what inspired this conversation. And I feel like, honestly, I've seen very polarizing views on the fact that BDO has 1,001 systems in it. So I kind of want to talk first, before we dive into like what systems are gone, what systems need to be fixed, all that kind of stuff. What, if you're a brand new player right now, and pretend that you didn't have the knowledge that you have on the game for playing it for as many years as we've all played it, would you be overwhelmed with the amount of systems that are currently in BDO? And Jay, we'll start with you because you are newer than Blue and I.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I was just watching. I sometimes lurk in like new BDO players' streams because there's a bunch of new players, new streamers coming out to try BDO, and they were. It was a little bit frustrating when I was like trying to teach them, hey, there's this button that you can click. It's right here, and then they kept missing it. They kept moving their mouse over it, and
you're like, no, one to the right,
one to the basically. And so I mean, as I was watching that person just struggle a lot. I don't know if it's just them struggling, or maybe it's just the game not doing the best job of teaching players. But yeah, I do feel like as a new player, you would, based on that experience, I think they would be very overwhelmed and daunted by the whole thing. But I do think once you get used to it, it is very intuitive. Like it's like very smartly designed for a lot of them. So
it is
especially all of the quality of the lifestyle. Like for example, like the find my item thing was it kept getting expanded upon. Like first it was just a search bar in your inventory. Now it's like a whole find my item thing, and now you can even just use your mates to grab it instead of like before it was like, oh, you would search for it and then it's in kept one, and then I closed it and then I forgot where it was. Yep. And so I go back to look for it again, but now you can just use your mate to grab it. And now you can even use your mate to grab things from other characters without even going to loading into them. So I think they've done a lot of things to circumvent a lot of the issues that players have had in the beginning. And I think after they get used to it, I think it is a very smart system. But I do agree that the system takes a bit of time to get used to. So.
Yeah. Blue, I want to ask you the same question. If you're a brand new player and pretend you did not have the knowledge that you have after playing the game for 6 or 7 years, if you joined BDO right now, would you be overwhelmed with the amount of systems that are in the game?
No. So here's the deal. Like, people are not overwhelmed by the amount of systems. That's the big draw to the game. Like, oh my God, look how much this game actually has going on, right? People start getting overwhelmed when there's absolutely no explanation for those systems. And they have to do an incredible amount of their own research to try to figure out basic game mechanics that have been around forever. And some people are saying it's easy to figure out. It's not easy to figure out. How, like you walk up to a blade of grass and you're like, oh, I can gather on this, and your character just pulls up a bunch of weeds. You don't know that you have to equip a hoe in order to actually obtain that item, right? Like if you go gather on some flowers, you could just get weeds, and a new player is just not going to understand that if you equip a hoe, you're actually going to get flowers, right? Like there needs to be systems in place, and by systems I mean put tutorials into your game. Like for these systems, nothing crazy. You can leave it open-ended, but show them very lightly how the game is played. But we already have this seasonal system in place, and this is something we have brought up probably 3 times already on the podcast. Yes, it does a great job of introducing new players to the gear enhancement system, to gear progression system, and getting players involved in the game. It streamlines all of that. Okay, now expand it and do that for life skilling, right? Expand it and do that for bartering. If they want, make them optional. Make all of that extra stuff. Like, yeah, they have to go through like the main Tuvala quest line for like all that stuff and get their stuff. But like if they wanted to get into life skilling, make like a tutorial on life skilling where like they can go through this new tutorial, and then at the end of the tutorial, they now understand the system and they can start enhancing Tuvala life skilling equipment. Okay, now the game is okay. Now this is less overwhelming. Right, because now I understand how to gather things. Now I understand how to cook things. Now I understand. I'm not really scared to like. Dude, the amount of hurdles you have to go through as a new player to try to get into alchemy is astronomical. Bro, imagine. Like you're like, how do I even? People are like, yeah. So you're sitting at the utensil. You just put these 5 things together, and they're like, what? Utensil? right? Like they don't even know, like they don't understand how to even get utensils. So, okay, well, first I got to go make a utensil. Oh, okay, well, then I have to go gather rough stone. Well, how the fuck do I do that? Where do I go for that? And then they got to go to Pilgrim's Haven. They go gather the rough stone. Then they're like, okay, well, now I have the materials to make the thing. How do I put that together? Oh, well, you have to have this fucking, this Glish workshop that allows you to make advanced alchemy tools. Like, oh, okay, well, that knowledge is just nowhere to be found. Right? And then they make the alchemy. They finally get the tool and they're like, okay, now what? Like, oh, you have to have a residence. Oh, how do I do player housing? Right? Okay, now I have to figure out player housing. I have to put my utensil. We've got it in the residence. Now we're in front of the utensil and you put all of the things in there and you hit enter and you don't have enough. It just says it didn't work. And then you look over at the BDO lytics and then you look back. And then you look over at the BDO lytics and you're like, what? It's the exact same recipe. I don't understand what's going on. And then you realize that you're not high enough alchemy level. And then you have to make something else altogether before you can even make it. It's impossible. Like players just don't understand how to get it. In fairness, how are they supposed to? Right? There's no tutorial systems for any of these systems at all, aside from the standard Tuvala. And the Tuvala is great. They need to expand it. Don't decrease the number of systems. Don't make the game any necessary. Well, I mean, you can make it less complicated overall, sure. But like, don't just remove systems from the game because it's overwhelming. Just make those systems approachable by adding tutorials, right? Good.
So I'd like to say that I 110% agree with you. I think the fact that BDO systems are so interconnected to one another, the fact that you just now described the gathering system, the worker system, the player housing system, the alchemy system, those are 4 separate systems that you all have to do together in order to make advanced alchemy tools and then do alchemy at them, not to mention the skill level required to make whatever elixir or potion or whatever you're trying to make is really cool. And I think it's a big draw for a lot of players is like, okay, there's massive systems and somehow they all interconnect with each other. But when you're a brand new player to the game and you have 1,000 things in your inventory and you're like, what am I looking at? Which one is good? Which one is bad? What can I throw away? What can I not throw away? Why do I have all these Naru, what are they? Beginner Blackstones. Okay, what is a beginner Blackstone? Like, the game, if you're not reading the season pass, does not do a very good job of explaining what the heck a Naru or a beginner Blackstone is. The little pink and blue circle icons that just show up in your inventory randomly.
That and everything else that just randomly shows up in your inventory for no goddamn good reason.
I think once upon a time, they did a thing where they went through all the beginner areas that you quest through and they removed a lot of the trash loot from those beginner areas. I would like to see them honestly kind of revisit that idea and just really boil things down to what does a new player need to know about in the game to get through the beginning of the game. And then at some point, then open the world up to them. Because even like Blue, I didn't get to finish your video, but I saw that you watched the Lazy Peon video where he came back and he played for years before he quit BDO. And he came back and he still was like, what the heck happened to the game? It took him like 15 minutes to even find his crystal inventory. He was running around without crystals because he had no idea how the system worked. The game does not explain the crystal inventory to you at all.
No.
And that's like one of the biggest parts
of the game is having crystals. Yeah, fundamental system. And that's that's something else I wanted to talk about is the game. All right, so there's a couple chatters that are saying there are plenty of life skill tutorials in the suggested quest tab, all of the progression paths that you thing that will point you there. Nobody looks at their suggested, like, new players have so much overwhelming crap being thrown at them and what they're doing. Nobody is going to the suggested quest tab to pick up more fucking quests. Like, the game is not fun because you're doing quests, and the quests don't really show you how to do stuff. You just stumble through it, and it's just frustrating. They're like, equip a hoe, and you're like, well, where the fuck do I get a hoe? And then you have to go find your mom. Like, oh my God. Okay, buddy. Christian J. Okay. All right. I'm clipping that one. Yeah, I'm sending that over to Mama J. Coon. V before the T, bitch. He's moving himself.
You set me up. I had to go.
Yeah. But see, now I've lost my train of thought because Jay. So the needless quests. Needless quests. These are not the needless quests. Don't actually show you anything because people don't want to read. it needs to be a tutorial. It needs to show you physically how to do it. Open up my inventory and highlight the items for me and just point a giant arrow to it and be like, yes, here's your hoe. Equip this. Now go out here and gather on this giant beam of light, you know, so that like you can see what to do and how to do it. Like the quests need to be improved. The tutorials need to be improved across the board to actually introduce people to these systems. And to add on top of that, stop making fundamental game mechanics gated behind these meaningless fucking quests. Like, I'm going to be honest with you. Putting, like, family inventory is a very fundamental game mechanic that is gated behind a needless, like, 10-part quest line. Like, oh, it only takes 10 minutes. Okay. Well, how many other systems in the game that are, like, you absolutely have to do all of these quest lines? And then, oh, they all take 10 minutes. Okay, well, there goes, like 10 hours of my time, right? To get fundamental parts of the game, like the Magnus. Why is the Magnus quest? Look, I love that they made the Magnus, like the quest lines were actually good, but the problem is it's a fundamental game mechanic. You've essentially stranded all of your new players in Land of the Morning Light until they do the Magnus quest line, right? That is against their fundamental roles as developers. They don't want to force people to do anything. Well, now you've forced them to do the Magnus quest line after the main story. Like, they can't even progress their Tuvala gear. They can't get to the end of the Alta Nova quest. They can't even get off the island unless they do the Magnus quest line. It's obnoxious. I mean, they technically can. It's just going to take you half an hour. Right?
So I think one of the biggest things that pops up in my mind of needless quests are the life skill certifications. Is the biggest load of shit in the entire game.
Life skill certifications?
Yeah, because you did
There are certifications?
You did it one time, I guarantee it, probably 6 years ago, and you totally forgot that they were
You mean
a
the knowledge?
thing.
You mean like the knowledge for? Oh yeah, so
Yes.
dumb, dude. Oh my gosh, dude.
Why
Certifications,
in
dude.
the
Oh my
heck
gosh.
Are there
Yeah.
certification quests? Because I guarantee I did this the other day because I did certain certificate. I did up to the point that I needed to do the certifications to do
You
something.
just did it?
Well, no, I had like 3 left over, and I had never done the other 3 because in all of my time playing BDO, I
This
never
dude-
needed to use that one system in the game.
You claim
So
to be a
I
life
went.
skiller. I don't want to hear it. You
So listen. I thought I had them all done, right? Because I've only ever used
Imposter.
the ones that I needed, right? So what did I go to do? I went to do something. I can't remember what it was.
dude can't
And
even make plywood because he hasn't done the
I
quest
put-
line, dude. Life skiller,
it
by the way.
wasn't- It wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad. But I went to do something, and I had all the things in my simple alchemy or whatever it was that I was trying to do, and it just kept popping up, and it was like not working. And I was like, I checked, Altar of Gaming, and it was like, all right, these are the correct things. I'm doing the correct process on it. Why is it not working? Could not figure it out. It literally took me like 10 minutes to figure it out because finally I opened my like quest menu because somebody mentioned it in guild. Scrolled down, I had like 2 or 3 left that I had never done that just set because I got to the one that I needed and just never needed to use the other ones. I was like, what the heck, dude? Like, why is that even in the game? Because a brand new player is not going to understand what a certification is.
Oh God, no.
Like, you're asking them to go dig deep. And the best thing is, in the O menu, if you don't have the all quest tab thing turned on, you are never going to find it.
Never.
And
I can't tell you how
like-
many times I've troubleshooted somebody. I'm just like, hit
Yep.
O, the very bottom, make sure all quests are turned on.
Yep.
Okay, there you go.
And I
Why
like
do you hide them in the first place?
Every time. No,
Well,
they
here's the
hide them
thing.
automatically. You're the
Yeah,
characters.
I know.
It's not on
They hide-
automatically.
they hide them automatically, and I actually think that is a good thing. I think at some point there needs to be a tutorial that pops up and it's like, open your O menu. Click this at the bottom. This is how you toggle quests, all quests on and off. So
Right.
if there's a quest that you need
Yeah.
to find, hit this
Yeah.
button, but the game does not do that. It doesn't even tell you that there's an all quest toggleable thing in your quest menu. You have to literally hover over it and you're like, oh,
Yeah, the
that's
first
how I get.
it should be like the first 10 quests, right? It doesn't have to
Yeah.
be its own instance, right? You come out of the thing, right? And you spawn in an ancient stone chamber wherever you chose to go. The Black Spirit comes up, it gives you your first quest, and then it just immediately is just like, tap O, like big bouncing letters, the Black Spirit trying to help you, and you hit O, and then it pops up, and then it points down to the bottom, and it just says, this is how you turn on all quests or like different types of quests if you want them on. Here's the suggested tab. Like, here's how you find your quests. here is the main
Yeah.
quests that you need to be able. This is what the auto path to the next quest thing. Like how many times? Like this is the button that you're really looking for, right? Like how many times? How many hours of a new player's life is wasted because they don't know that they can just have the main story quest thing up on the right side and they can just click boom auto path and just hit T as soon as they finish another quest, right? Like that. It's very simple, and it's because they don't understand the UI.
Yep.
Right? Like it is because there's no tutorial to show them any of this stuff. Instead, what we have opted for is the player spawning in. You have entered a combat zone. So-and-so is at Tiltus is enhanced to try Black Stars. This person literally just registered a horse to the market. Hey, just so you know, an artisan worker just got registered in Altanova. By the way, oh, now that's a duo Black Star from Tilted. Like let's... Literally obnoxious, man. Like, why is
not
that?
to mention that, but at the same time, there's a little pearl shop thing down in your bottom right. It's like, hey, these are the things that are on sale today.
Yeah, I know you just spawned in and spent the money on our game, but here are the things that are on sale that you haven't even unlocked
Yep.
in the game yet. I know you haven't discovered.
I recently found out, for like, very recently, was that you can actually expand and your mini map on the if you hover your mouse over the bottom
yeah, you
left
can
of your
grab.
mini
Jay,
map,
you didn't
grab
know
and
that?
drag it. I didn't know that.
He's
for
not
the
a shot caller.
longest
He's literally
time.
never
I'm not-
like had to interact with the map before. Okay,
It was.
In,
it
like that
happens.
for like
I
5
believe
years.
it. It happens.
to be
Anyone in
clear,
chat? No.
to be clear, it doesn't actually expand your vision range, Jay, so you can't actually see more people, but you can
No, I
see
know.
terrain more. You can see more terrain. I don't choose to have it. But yeah, there's also a 3D map which people used to play because the 2D map was just laid on top of the 3D
laggy,
map, so
yeah.
it would increase your FPS if you hit the 2D map. Yeah, there's all kinds of tech and whatnot, but we are out of time. We're actually over again. Oh my goodness, we have to do an outro real quick. Tiltus, I did you first. Jay, why don't you give us your outro first here?
I am Jay Kuhn. I do a lot of endgame PvE content such as Olans the Dungeons, and now I do a lot of Decius Olans. We might be tapping for a Pendeboreka here soon. Stay tuned. But I'm always happy to answer questions about the game, and you can find me over at jkuhn, twitch.tv/jkuhnvt, V before the T.
Jaycoon Frick, Jaycoon VTV before the T. You heard him.
Yep.
All right.
Heard it here first.
Tiltus.
Hey, I'm Tiltus TV. I've been playing the game for 6 years, and somehow just now finished some of my skilled certifications, life skill quests. But yeah, I'm the shot caller for Epidemic, or the flex lead for Solace/Epidemic. And I play DK. Yeah, and I enjoy PvP so much. If you haven't figured that out from watching, so definitely come stop by, say hello. We'll eventually do a bunch of PvP at some point. I really got to grind AOS at some point, like bad. So be looking forward to that soon.
Oh, I am gonna look forward to that.
Oh, it's gonna be bad.
I'm gonna be looking forward to that. Super. And of course, I have Blue Squadron. There's always something happening on this channel, whether it be Fun Day Monday, PvP for Dummies, the Old Moon podcast, where we shot call on Saturday. We shot call Siege in what is, I guarantee you, the most entertaining shot calling you have ever seen. Sundays, we've started doing react streams, which are a big hit. People love those. And we're always publishing stuff on YouTube and introducing guides and stuff. So make sure you guys are tuned in there. I'm going to be doing my patch note rundown right after the podcast here. So make sure you stay tuned for that. And the podcast is always published live at my YouTube a few hours after the podcast finishes airing. And it's also live on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. If you guys want to listen to it in the car, maybe you're on your way to work, or maybe you're working, or whatever it is, you can always listen to the podcast on the go. Just make sure you hit that follow button for us. From all of us here at the Old Moon Podcast, we wish you absolutely the best of weeks.